Live from New York at the biggest show in legal technology. This is your TECHNOCAT live podcast, and I am here with none other than Ilan Sherr for a repeat. You're back for more of Aiscension associated with DLA Piper. We are stoked to be here. I'm so glad you're here from all the way across the pond. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be back in New York, and I hope I didn't bore you last year because getting me back is great.
Hey, yeah, if I want a second dose, it means I liked you. If I didn't, it means I still maybe like you. I don't know.
But it's great to be in New York. And also, we were just talking about the difference between last year.
The energy. Oh, my God.
And the volume of people, no masks, people are less panicky. The post-pandemic world looks vibrant.
Well, and I heard there's 7,000 people here, which might be the biggest legal week in like 5 or 6 years. It's crazy.
And you can see why everybody wants to get back out, get back to business, and do the right things, and also see what's out there and what's available.
So we were talking earlier, and you mentioned something that kind of surprised you, and you were excited about what everyone's sort of talking about this week. It sort of seems like they might have kind of sort of gone all in on AI finally. So what's your take on that?
Walking around the vendor rooms, looking at the list of speakers, I think the word AI is in 90% of the content that we're seeing. And I think that's been a revolutionary change over what we saw last year. The uptake of AI, people's familiarity with it, people's ability to trust it has changed. I blame ChatGPT for that, for making it go to the next level. But equally, things like Midjourney, people are seeing the capability and the reliability of it and wondering, well, how can I use it? And also, if I'm not using it already, why not? And what can I use it for?
Well, I think when something gets an entire episode on South Park, the genie is out of the bottle. It is officially mainstream. It's up there with like Paris Hilton and Snooki, and we need to start preparing for it. So tell me a little bit about, you and I have been talking about AI probably a lot longer than a lot of the people at this show. You're actually doing some pretty interesting stuff with Aiscension still the last couple of years. I mean, I'd love for you to tell the audience, in case they haven't heard about it, all the great stuff you're doing, because I think it's a good example of why people should be paying attention to AI.
So at DLA Piper, we created Aiscension, and Aiscension is a AI service that we are using to spot risks within business. So we have a collaborating partnership with Reveal AI. So the data scientists at Reveal AI have been using their AI in order to help us develop and promote these models. And what we're doing is we are pre-training effectively an algorithm to spot particular issues. So we've trained it to spot cartels, and we launched that 2 years ago. We won a few awards in relation to it, nominated for a few awards.
Yeah.
So we're very proud of it. But equally, some of the fun stuff over the last year is we've got some case studies out.
Oh, very cool.
So we ran a review of 500,000 documents, and using predictive coding, technology-assisted review, all of the tools that we use in our normal toolbox for running fast reviews. Our estimate was that was going to take around 3,000 fee earner hours at phase 1 review.
And that's not just like doc review hours, it's fee earner hours. So we're talking
Yes.
a very large number.
Yes. So that's typically what you would see if you're running a review of 500,000 documents to look for a particular issue. But using the AI we built together, we threw the AI at 500,000 documents. It ranked the documents. We have a proprietary expiration queue that we've developed with Dr. Irina Mativa and Isha Chopra, so the wonderful people at Reveal. And that sorts of documents, we have expiration queues, so we review documents in the right order, not everything in ranking order, but covering content. And we ran that entire review, wrote up a report to the client, delivered it to the client, and had a discussion with them in 91 hours.
That's insane.
3,000 hours to 91 hours with the same quality content of output.
Well, even if you take the cost out of the equation, which is hard to do, I know it hurts my soul a little bit, time is our most valuable and limited resource these days. So being able to get to insight, get that report to your client, it allows you to do kind of strategic, fact-driven case decisions, or maybe get ahead of a regulatory investigation. That time you save, it can become like a strategic advantage.
So absolutely. Obviously, the way we can productize this and deploy it are very different. So the traditionally discovery model is responding to investigations and litigation. So now with this tool, if you were to use Aiscension and your competitors weren't, you would have your risk scenario within a fraction of the time of everybody else, and you can deal with your
Get ahead of
strategy.
it. Oh, 100%.
You could put in a leniency statement before anybody else. You could respond to the regulator. But equally, we've also, in an investigation scenario, we found nothing. And as a result, the attorneys were able to be more bullish with the regulator. And in fact, a case was dropped 6 months after it opened because of what we found or didn't find in the case.
That's sometimes my favorite example, because like we're always saying like, oh, how do I get through the documents? Like, if I can prevent the entire need to deal with litigation or a complex regulatory investigation because I am proactively using AI to understand what's going on in my data, that's powerful.
Well, so that's a different issue altogether.
Oh.
So dealing with investigations is one thing, and dealing with them fast allows you to be able to be very strategic in how you respond.
Gotcha.
But why do people not do this before they have an investigation? Why do they not do the preventative compliance? And the reason for that is cost.
Always,
the cost of running these reviews,
yeah.
as everybody knows, is expensive. So you only do it when you can justify the expense.
Exactly.
But if we could do it in 91 hours,
which is a drop, that's less than the amount of time I've spent on Legalweek.
That enables people to actually spot the problems in their business early. But cartels is quite niche.
Yes.
So we, over the last year, have been developing a new module in relation to bribery, which will be released later this year.
Which is a lot less niche. It's a lot bigger.
This is an exclusive. We are planning to release a bribery module later this year. And whilst cartels impact dealings with competitors, bribery is a risk throughout your entire supply chain. So, it's a bigger issue for businesses, and also being preventative is something that businesses are more traditionally involved in.
Now that makes a ton of sense. So if someone's interested in learning more about the bribery or the cartel models or just Aiscension in general, best way to reach you, is it just Ilan at DLA, like, or at Aiscension? Like, what's the best way for them to contact you? Because I feel like people are going to be curious after this.
So you can contact Reveal. Reveal have my number. But equally, you can go to Aiscension. If you search for Aiscension AI, SCENSION, we are the top Google result. And if you go to the DLA Piper's website and search for it, you'll find it. But equally, maybe underneath the chat box, we'll put some details in the link.
Also, in the hyperlink for the live stream, you will see a hyperlink for Ilan's name. Click on it, follow him on LinkedIn, and then maybe ping him on there too. So before we kind of wrap up, we've got a few more minutes. We're not quite the mic drop moment. I was more curious, what on earth is that?
So on my right, stage right, is little Ray, and that's Al. So I've got a 4-year-old at home who asked that I take these on my holiday. I told him it wasn't a holiday, this is a business trip, but he kept calling it a holiday so that I don't forget him. So they're coming with me wherever I go, and they're featuring in the podcast.
Well,
and they're very big on AI as well.
They're all in on AI.
They're all in on AI, and they're learning that there's a difference between AI. Because as with everything in the world, as with when you go to a law firm and you ask a lawyer, there are lawyers that do one thing and there are lawyers that do other things. And a bribery lawyer is not going to give you good advice on your tax returns. Similarly with AI, what we're finding is people use the term AI quite generically, but you really need to understand the difference of the different AIs and what they can use and how they can help you. So really, I mean, from a business perspective, you need to start with the problem that you want to resolve and then look at what the best tools are available.
And just understand the function and the limitation of the tools, because not every AI is not a monolith, right? And so you need to know kind of what functionality you need to get the answers you're looking for.
Yes, and also to deal with some of the legal issues that we have. So not in the US, but in Europe and across EMEA, we have much stronger data protection
GDPR,
rights. And some of the leakage that we see with ChatGPT and those types of AIs are a bit of a problem for the way we're allowed to use client data, or how clients might be worried about, particularly when we're talking about criminal risks within businesses, what that can do. So it's also looking at, how does the actual AI work, physically what goes into it, what comes out.
Absolutely. No, that's there's just so many things you need to kind of dig into. That's why people need to have folks that are experts that are co-innovating with them, or that are guiding them. I've got to promote it a little bit. Well, as I always say, these are a sprint and not a marathon. So we're rounding the final bend. It's time for my favorite question. What would your mic drop moment be? What is the one takeaway you want anyone tuning in for the first or second time, maybe they got both of them, and learning about you or Aiscension for the first time? What do you want people to know?
So for me, I think the big issue that I would like to get across is that lawyers tend to be responsive and reactive, and clients have a problem, then they go to their lawyers. What if we could change that round? And rather than responding to a problem and an issue, we could be proactive and preventative, because the cost of spotting problems early and dealing with them is a lot lower than a regulator turning up or an investigation happening or being sued. And so in the past, the cost of running that proactive prevention has been too expensive. But,
Prohibitive, yeah.
but being proactively preventative allows us to do so much more with a limited budget, achieve more with the business goals, but also allow the business to take more risks, knowing that it has a safety net. So rather than taking a very cautious approach, being proactive allows you to take an appropriate level of assessment of risk.
I love that. So an ounce of prevention goes a lot farther than pounds and pounds and pounds of remediation.
Yes.
Well,
is that American LB or is that GBP sterling?
That's just yes and yes. I mean, I feel like GBP would be a higher dollar amount. I don't know. Well, thank you again so much. I feel like there's not a better mic drop moment to wrap up on. So again, live from New York, this has been TECHNOCAT and Ilan Sherr, and the mic is dropped. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.